Being a parent is supposed to be the most natural thing in the world. We have children, we bring them up. It's simple. We've been doing it forever. I'm Fiona McShane and I have 2 kids, Mina, who's a month, and David, who's 2. Being a parent is the toughest job I've ever had, although it is the most rewarding. When it comes to parenting, we could all do with a bit of advice, and that's what we're here for. Welcome to PG Plus, the programme that's rated PG Parental Guidance. And over the next 6 weeks, we'll have advice on managing the tiny ones, the tots, right up to the preteens. In this programme, I'll be getting some advice on healthy eating, plus we'll be meeting a family who multiply all their highs and lows by the power of 3.
Hi, I'm Fergal Keane. I've been a parent for 6 years and every week brings up new parenting issues for me. This week, I'll be getting to grips with hobbies, how far you should go, how far you should let your children go.
We'll also be doing a spot of kid watching, and our development experts will fill us in on what play actually tells us about our children's development. For most parents at some stage, food becomes an issue. You're worried that they're too picky and not getting enough. You're worried that they're getting too much of the wrong kinds of foods. And so I'm visiting someone with plenty of answers. She's a mum of 4 and a dietitian, Margot Brennan. Come on, Dave. Margot was making up a pizza for the kids, so I thought I'd give her a hand. So Margot, healthy eating for kids, what are we aiming for?
Well, in practice, we're talking about 3 meals and 3 snacks a day for children.
Well, that sounds like an awful lot of cooking.
Well, no, because really, there's only one really cooked meal, and that's dinner, and it can be evening or lunchtime, whatever fits in with you. Breakfast is generally cereal, lunch will be sandwiches or something, so the rest really are just snacks. In terms of snacks, they need to be healthy options for children, and very good examples are basically fruit. It could be something like a banana or an apple, maybe chopped up. Other examples would be raisins, popcorn, or a small bowl of cereal can be useful.
Well, Margot, I think the pizza is just about ready.
Okay, I'll pop it in the oven.
Some suggestions then for what to serve up for lunch and dinner.
Well, I think soups are a great idea, particularly for lunches in the winter time. If you can start with all the raw materials, great, but I don't think many of us have much time for that. But often the carton soups are a good substitute. Maybe not the packet because they tend to be much higher in salt and things. For dinners, I use a lot of casseroles, and I think it's a great way to disguise vegetables going into your children. They're not aware of what's actually in them. And add in extra things like canned tomatoes and that. And they like tomato-based things. Spaghetti bolognese is a great favourite in our house as well. And if you can, for example, start from scratch with the tinned tomatoes and tomato puree, great. If not, use the bottled varieties. They can be useful as well.
Well, they're tucking in. Now think of your own little darling or darlings. Can you remember the big milestones in their development? Sleeping through the night, their first steps, starting school. We'll take all of that and multiply it by 3. You could call it triple the trouble. And that's the challenge facing our next family.
Emma was 4 when they were born, so we 4 years with Emma on her own, all right,
which was very easy because it was only one child. Whereas when we had the 3 of them all together, you had to start a pre-plan going out, and you had to plan to make sure you had all the equipment and everything, no matter where you went.
It was very physical
work.
Now it's more kind of just kind of mental torture.
Look at the crab. Do you want to keep him?
Yeah.
Okay, now watch us. Yeah, that's it.
To give them time on their own, it was difficult.
We did make a good attempt at it. When we take them out, maybe to go for a walk and to go shopping.
But everybody joins in.
Well, not all the time. It wasn't always that bad. Well, when we made a concerted effort, we tried, and we kept trying, and we'd go to the shops with them, or we'd go maybe to the park.
Sometimes you sort of...
Even to sit and read a story just to one, rather than to all 3 of them. And that was a good way of doing
Yeah.
it. We'd always have loads of books in the house, so we'd read them one story and say, oh, I'll read you a story in a few minutes, and that way it would work.
It wouldn't have been much by comparison to a single
Oh
child.
no,
At
definitely not. Yeah.
At all. Yes, ma'am. Yep. Yep. Just be careful, right? Don't go where I can't see you. Ruth?
So we'll keep an eye on you.
Mom, are these called razor shells?
They are razor shells,
His hat's
yeah.
gone.
You better remember the
red.
wash your hands when you go home, folks. That's the kind of thing, actually. One on the dune, sort of, hi, I see you, and the other here, look at the gold starfish.
That's what kept,
You know,
that's the division of the attention then. That's what the hardest actually.
It's just the same demands that a single child puts on you, multiplied by 3. You can't hand down clothes. There isn't the bike in the shed that the older one used that the younger one can kind of practice on before they get used to the idea. There's got those kind of things. Why are the plates on the table? Frequently, you just felt totally snowed under with babies and like, do I exist other than as mother to the kids? And Emma was going to school and Kevin was going out to work, so they were kind of gone out into the real world. And while I did make a conscious effort to try and get out there,
Oh, there's just yourself.
it didn't always happen.
Feeding was the biggest in that it took a huge amount of time, and it involved the two of us all the time, and making the bottles and counting in the right amount of formula to put in. When you're making 27 bottles every night, you forgot then, I have the wrong amount in, and then you had to start all over again.
Really short. If we're both in and we're both wrecked, and in the back of my mind, you know, you hear things, you know, really you should be kind of up there and giving them a little bit of individual attention, and earlier on they'll be reinforcing each other's mistakes and they'll have language problems and all this sort of thing. But to be quite honest with you, you'd get so wrecked, said, oh grand, let them off for today, and then maybe the next day and the next day and the next day. So yeah, they really do amuse each other.
2, 1, 2. Chance. We like playing sports.
Me and Andrew play.
Like playing
Exactly,
sports.
Ruth. You don't do sports.
I do like playing sports. Racing. She likes running. And jumping. And jumping.
Yeah.
And swimming. Athletics. And it's the most.
And me and Andrew play Gaelic and rugby.
If they're playing rugby in the landing, she always tells us. I say, if you don't play with me, I'll tell on you. Well, we decided to build forts.
No, you were a bit bigger than that. They all shared a bedroom up until they were about 2 or 3. They used to have a sort of a line in their bedroom because Andrew's very neat and tidy. Jane isn't quite so neat and tidy. So there used to be a line in the bedroom. And we did go through a lot actually of thinking whether we would give them all separate rooms or whether they had company. But I kind of think
Gives them their own space.
they
It really
they
does.
need their own
Yeah.
space too.
The recommendations were always that you sort of separate twins and let them become their own identities in school, and this is what we did ourselves in that we put the 3 of them in 3 different classes.
What's with that? Funky watch.
Your funky watch. That was your name band, so you wouldn't get mixed up with anybody else. No, every little baby has to have a name band. Even I have one as well.
Why?
So that they don't mix me up with anybody as well, I suppose.
Getting an insight into your kids' development means you understand why they do the things they do. Anne O'Connor is a developmental psychologist who set up the parents' website rollercoasters.ie, and David Carey is an educational psychologist. We asked them to watch some kids at play and give us some pointers to the different stages of child development.
Play is the work of childhood. Isn't it fantastic that something this much fun can really be so important in the developing brain? Children learn their physical skills, how to run, climb, how to manipulate objects, how to interact with each other. They learn about their environment. Really, their brain is developing all the time, and play is vital to that process. And look at these 2-year-olds. They're having a fantastic time playing with the goop.
Children love the gooiness of it and the texture of it and just watching it drip from the figure.
That's right. Look at that concentration.
Yeah, absolutely.
And of course this is a great example of parallel play.
Side by side, happily playing away, absorbed in their own materials and activities. No interaction between the two of them though. And just as you said, Anne, that's what's called parallel play.
And now he's going to imitate.
Yes.
And of course that's a really important skill for play. These guys are 3.5-year-olds, so they're a little bit more sophisticated than our 2-year-olds.
3.5 is about the age when we would expect to see the beginnings of cooperative play.
Alex, I want to have a go.
I'm not sure that this is going to work for them.
Now this is a challenge for both of these boys, because here we have to come to some terms. May require a little bit of adult intervention.
Alex, do you see the time on my watch?
But she did well. She left them to try and begin to sort it out.
Just letting the children have the experience of trying to work through conflict, then gentle intervention.
This girl here, she's 4 years old. She shows us just how the world of language has opened up.
This is an interesting task. The important bit is they have to identify the sounds of words, parrot and carrot, which words belong together. So they're developing what are called phonological awareness skills. And that's very important because it's developed later on into the skill of reading. And all the time, each little success experience building her self-esteem, her confidence, so she'll go on and try more difficult tasks.
Shake your friend's hand, shake the hand next to you.
This is a more structured situation, circle time, and music. Music is so important, isn't it?
Oh, it certainly is. It's rhythm, it's pulse, the ability to move the body or clap the hands is a prerequisite to being able to read.
Absolutely. And I mean, they're extending their vocabulary, they're using their imitation skills and their social skills. This ability to sit and to partake in the group activity. This is something that's really going to stand them well when they go into more formal education.
And look at the difference in these older children now as opposed to the 2.5-year-olds.
They're cooperating, and the language and the eye contact and nobody diving in and taking over.
So stimulating to the brain.
And they're watching each other and they're copying each other and learning, still learning, but look at the fun they're having.
There's a real lesson here for adults, isn't there? Give them freedom and the materials that don't destroy things and let them have free rein with their own imaginations. You know, outdoor play is just as important as indoor play. And of course, we're watching the development of a lot of gross motor skills and fine motor skills, in other words, physical development in a very playful and fun way, but there's a lot happening underneath that. Later on in physics in secondary school, we'll be learning about Mr. Newton and his apples and the law of gravity. But here their brains and their bodies are experiencing it.
This is typical of boys playing.
A bit
the
rough
boys
house,
just rough and tumble.
That's
They're
right.
having such fun. Look at the guys.
Sure, yeah. But enough sophistication to know not to hurt someone else. And you can see that they're well able to read one another's facial expressions. So a lad on the ground being pulled by the arm, but he's smiling and giggling. And the person who's pulling the arm intuitively knowing it's not hurting. It's a game, it's fun.
I've learned a lot about healthy eating for kids, and now's the time to put it into practice. Hardly the best of starts. First stop has to be chocolate. Cooking fresh veg is the best, but if you're in a rush, use frozen. If you put frozen veg in the microwave without water, it preserves the nutrients. Chicken drumsticks are great, high in iron because of the dark meat close to the bone. Also, they're handy for your kids to pick up with their fingers. If you can't completely wean them off sugary breakfast cereals, just add a few spoonfuls of a healthier one, like bran flakes, and you've compromised. Up to the age of 12, children need 1 pint of milk a day, But they don't need any more than that. Right, that's me. If I can just get past the biscuits without any tantrums, I'll be doing okay.
From basketball to music, from football to chess. We parents are bombarded with requests to allow our children try all types of hobbies, and more often than not, they've forgotten about them within a couple of weeks. So I'm going to try to get to grips with leisure activities for kids, a fad or a focus. Did you ever try karate?
Yeah, I did. I just gave it up.
Why?
Not much fighting. I gave football up immediately.
Why?
Because I don't like football.
I went for about 2 days because it was really boring and kept on learning the same stuff over and over again.
Roy, all of these are yours?
Yeah.
What do you play?
I played this tennis one summer and then I just didn't like it.
You don't play it anymore? Why didn't you like it?
Because we weren't really doing that. We weren't really doing it. Tennis, we were just like doing snatch the bacon and stuff. We weren't even using these.
Aikido?
Yeah.
You tried it?
Yeah.
Don't do it anymore now?
No.
Why not?
Because I didn't know what it's going to be like. First I thought it was going to be good, but then it was just bad. All you're doing is sitting in a circle and talking.
So how long did you do that for?
One day.
Jackie, what do you do if your child won't keep up with whatever leisure activities they've had?
The parents really have the responsibility of setting parameters for the hobbies for the children. So, you know, encouraging the children to stick with things until they've had a good go of it to see if it really suits them or not. And that means more than 1 or 2 weeks. It could build habits now that later in life could lead to undisciplined living. So you do want to encourage your children to stick with it.
Have you been Irish dancing for a long time?
Yeah, I started when I was 2, so 2.5. So it's been 9 years.
Can you remember your first class?
No. Thank you.
And you spent an awful lot of time doing it?
Yeah, I spent 3 days a week, and then sometimes every second or third week I go to a fetch.
You've seen river dance and things like that. Would you
Yeah.
like to appear in something like that?
Yeah, I'd like to...
Your medals. Beautiful.
I'd like to get some travel maybe out of it, and then just to have like a sociable life as well.
Jerry, do you think that the girls get a lot out of it in terms of confidence, or do they have more friends?
Absolutely. I think it's great for their confidence. You can see, particularly with Amy. Amy was always very shy and quiet, and when she took to the dancing, she started mixing a lot more easily, and that plenty of friends in the dancing and outside the dancing.
There is quite a lot that goes with it. There are the hair pieces, the costumes, the glue to keep the socks up, which is
sock glue.
Sock glue.
Sock glue, yeah. The costume could cost anything from maybe $1,300–1,400 to have one made. And then you have the heavy shoes, the home pipes. You can start them, I think, in or around €80, anything up to 115. And the poms will start, I think, in or around €28–30. And again, you can get them up as far as 68–70.
Anna, I can see the girls are obviously very close to each other here, and it becomes a bit of a family affair, does it?
Yeah, it's like a big extended family. You know, everyone looks out for each other, and the kids all get on very well together, and they really enjoy it.
But you obviously don't have time for anything else, do you?
Well, between my family and the dancing, that's, you know, satisfaction for me. I enjoy it. It's something that we're all involved in, which to me is important.
If you can afford it and if you have the time, probably 2 hobbies would be a good idea, because again, remember, you're trying to give the child as many diverse interests as possible.
whose choice should a hobby be? If I think these little guys here are going to do well at one activity, should I push them into that?
Well, I think you have to watch your child and see what interests they have, and you can kind of see, you know, maybe where their interests lie and where their talent lie, and then you can go in there and make some suggestions. Some families can really bond together by sharing a common interest like that. But then again, you have to be careful that you're not forcing your ideas on your children.
So what's a parent to do? From what I've seen, 1 or 2 leisure activities are a good idea, if you can afford them and if you have the time. But children should attend any classes you've paid for before they give them up. And if a hobby involves expensive equipment, make a deal. See if they can borrow to start with.
That's it from PG Plus. Next week we'll be looking at safety and asking what's the right balance between freedom and protection for our children. We'll be meeting a woman who's had to cope with becoming a mother and losing her sight. And for more information on what we've covered today, don't forget to check out our website. Bye for now.